Harnessing the power of story in branding and leadership. Everyone loves a story, probably because earliest memories are of being read to by our parents. So it's not surprising, but it goes deeper than that. It turns out that it's a brain thing. fMRI scans show significant areas of brain activity when someone starts to tell a story. So let's look at the role of characters in a story. Let's unpack the anatomy of a story. Now, I guess in any story, the first role that comes to mind is the hero, sometimes called the main character or the central protagonist. But a hero who lives a peaceful life is not a story. A story that goes, the hero wakes up in the morning, has a lovely day, goes to bed that night. That's not an engaging story. It's not a story at all. There needs to be a problem. And further, that problem needs to upend the hero's life. And the hero must solve that problem. Or it could be a desired gain, like winning the girl. The next character that might come to mind is one that really makes most great stories great. And that's the villain. I mean, where would Batman be without the Joker? Often the villains are the most memorable and important parts of the story, often more memorable than the hero. A great villain can really add to a story. Now, given that there's a hero and there's a problem, there needs to be a solution or a prize. If it's not a prize, then it's avoiding disaster. Clearly, this hero has avoided disaster. So, let's bring this around to business. Let's consider your branding, your positioning in your market. In your branding, who are you? The brand. Is the brand the hero, the villain? I hope not. The problem? I certainly hope not. Or the prize? Have a think about when you look at your branding, look at your website, your sales collateral, everything that is published about your brand, who are you coming across as? Or who are you trying to come across as? And now internally in your leadership style, who are you? Are you the hero, the villain? Well, the underperformers might say so. The problem, don't say the same. Or the prize. But wait, there's another role often overlooked in stories. And this role is critical to stories because if the hero wakes up one morning, finds ticking bomb, defuses ticking bomb, and then gets on and has a lovely day, it's not a story. It turns out that the hero has to have a problem, but the hero can't just solve their problem. It doesn't work. There's another really important character or role, and it's this guy. Now, this is from popular culture. This is Yoda from the Star Wars franchise. This character could be called the guide. The guide is essential. So what do we know about the guide? The guide is two things and does two things. The guide has empathy, has authority, gives the hero a plan, and calls them to action. And if you think back over all the great stories, that guide is essential. So here's an anatomy of a story. We start off with a character, they have a problem, they meet a guide, the guide gives them a plan, the guide calls them to action, and that ends in success and or helps them avoid failure, disaster. Bring that across to the Star Wars, the original story. Luke has a problem. He has to defeat the Empire. he has a lot of self-doubt and he's fighting evil. And we'll unpack the problem later by breaking it down into external, internal, and philosophical. He meets Obi-Wan Kenobi, who is empathetic, and he is an authority because he lived as a Jedi. The plan that the guide gives the hero is trust the Force, go and defeat the Empire, and Luke joins the rebellion and defeats the Empire, stopping the rebellion from being crushed. Now, who are you from a branding point of view, and who's your customer? Hero, guide, villain, problem, or prize? Worth having a little think. And now in your leadership role, which are you? Hero, guide, villain, problem, or prize? Your employees, who are they? And if we asked your employees what did they think, what would they say? Back to branding, how should we cast the customer? So your customer, I suggest, should be the hero. Their problem, the customer's problem, should be the problem. The external cause of their problem can be cast as the villain. You, your company, your brand, is the guide. Your customer's success is the prize. Now, back to internal management. You're trying to make a change, a big part of leadership. Your employee, I would suggest, can be cast as the hero. What needs changing? The problem. The external threat, the villain. You are in fact the guide. And your company's future success or avoiding disaster is the prize. Now the problem has 4 dimensions. External is the obvious physical problem. Internal is in the hero's mind. It could be a fear, an unknown, a shortcoming. Philosophical, most problems could be cast in a philosophical right or have a philosophical dimension, right versus wrong, something unfair, the ATO. The villain's been bundled into the problem here, is the personal force acting to create or maintain the problem. Now, a guide has 2 qualities, as we mentioned earlier. They must have empathy. Otherwise, we can't engage with them. The hero, we can't understand why the hero would engage with them. And just as importantly, they need authority. Authority represented by a photo of Gauchi here. They need to say, look, I know how you're feeling, I've been there. And by the way, I know how to solve this type of problem. Empathy and authority. Now the hero, importantly, must be transformed in great stories from who they were before they solved the problem to who they become after they solved the problem, often called the 2 journeys of the hero. This whole idea of story is explored by Donald Miller in this book, Building a Story Brand. He argues that a story framework gives clarity to your brand message. And certainly in my experience, most businesses have not properly thought about or clarified their message. Give a monkey a megaphone, all you get is a louder noise, but it's still noise. And we're surrounded by noise, and we've got really good at ignoring noise. So it's a waste of a megaphone or a waste of a large advertising budget. The message needs to be got right before you put it through the megaphone. Now, I'm not saying that you tell a story to articulate your brand message, But I am saying that using story elements will resonate with our audience because they're human and their brain is wired that way, wired to engage with those elements. So refer to the customer as though they were the hero of the story. Act like the guide with empathy and authority. Describe their problem, their villain, and the prize, and you will have a clear and compelling brand. Donald Miller's book has some great little work templates which you can use to help you think about and articulate your brand message. This chap said, many hundreds of years ago, a leader is best when his work is done, his aim fulfilled. They will say, we did this ourselves. So this idea is not new. It goes back hundreds of years. So in summary, we interpret the world through stories and characters. An understanding of this can help us influence people to better serve them and or lead them. The guide is an often overlooked role in a story, and it's one of the most powerful roles. So when you're next updating your brand messaging, think about how you can represent the customer as hero and your business as the guide. When you're next driving a significant change, think about whether you can make your people feel like the hero solving a problem.